Welcome back to the Telosive EV podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Today is a very special day because at the time of recording this, our very own Model Y Mike will be celebrating Mother's Day tomorrow.
I'm celebrating the Cybertruck. Yes, that is correct.
Right. By the time this airs, Elon will have been on SNL. But we don't know at the time of rolling.
I can't.
So
expecting a
I'll
Cybertruck
just... A bit.
Some
Just
type
a
of
bit.
It's going to be on the show.
Baby Shark, Shark Tank.
I wanted the idea of him taking worse and worse drugs on the Joe Rogan Experience. He gave that idea the thumbs up on Twitter, so I was like, that sounds kind of hilarious. Just keeps trying worse and worse things, and then all of a sudden, a Cybertruck drives through the wall.
That's why it's
That's
in
the
New
whole
York.
bit.
That's why the Cybertruck's in New York, folks. It's at that whatever place because they had to do the
Meatpacking district.
yeah. Is that near SNL? Because isn't SNL in New York?
I don't know if it really matters necessarily. I think it's the fact that they had a open showroom that was probably capable of having the Cybertruck in it, where maybe some of the other ones in
My
New York
showroom is always available. Tesla.
You have a showroom?
I will make
Just for
one.
the truck. I'll make one. But Elon drove it around town. Did you guys catch
In
those
New
pictures?
York
Those are
City?
some beautiful shots.
No, I didn't.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that.
Someone got some fantastic photos of it within the New York City lighting, and it once again reaffirmed me that, like, it looks good in all environments. Like, it looks good in Giga Texas in the mud, and in the city lights just driving down urban architecture and stuff. It fits right in. It looks very Blade Runner-esque, and people, I'm really happy people got some decent photos of it because obviously I want more Cybertruck news. And this is basically how Tesla advertises the truck. They just drive it around. And that's
all
it.
you need to do with the design this amazing. Do you think
I'd say
the real
some
question though
porters-
is do
Go
you
ahead,
think
though.
it will win a JD Power Award for good design?
What hasn't won a JD Power Award?
I'd
say yes.
Twizzy. I don't know.
Twizzy.
Actually, that's not a bad design.
They'll probably give it an award. What were you going to say, birthday Mike?
Birthday. Gosh dang it. I was gonna say one of these poor Tesla employee souls had to wash the truck before it got to New York. But at the same time, I'm kind
True.
of jealous because they got to wash the
Poor?
Cybertruck.
No, I would have done that for free with my tongue.
All the tires.
All the tires.
The tread
Yes.
and everything.
Yes.
But what I wish people could dumb down, like kilowatts, right? They spot everything. They have like 15 field agents. They're everywhere at all times. They need to figure out what trailer the Cybertruck is being moved in because it's not being flown, and I don't think they drove from Texas to New York. That would have been painfully obvious. Everybody would have noticed it. So they're clearly moving it onto a trailer of some sort and driving it around. I guess Elon said they would do a cross-country road trip. Maybe this is what he was referring to.
I knew that he was
that
going to go on SNL. Because I think that's the only reason why the Cybertruck is in New York right now is because he's doing SNL, and he probably either wants to show off his new toy, or he's got a bit for it, or something else. I don't think this is
SNL will sometimes like
pre-record
pre-record those little bits a little bit, so I'd imagine the Cybertruck was, there for a bit on Wednesday, and then after they finish that,
Now I'm going to be very disappointed if there isn't. If there is no truck bit, I'll be even more confused. I'll be like, well, why did it... there was no bit for Giga Texas, but they drove it all the way out there.
True.
So part of me is thinking that trailer was just like, we're going to take this around, wherever Elon wants to drive it, we're going to let him because, he's in charge. But yeah, I want to... Kilowatts needs to find what this trailer looks like and be like, okay, we've located
Stick an air tag on it.
Like, do you think it... Put an air tag on it. There you go. Do you think it's a bad idea for them to actually drive the Cybertruck on public highway because maybe that would attract too many people and start to cause, because we on our own show talked about the idea of crashing into it intentionally just so we could look at it. It would be worth it.
It would be.
It would be worth it. I don't think it would be.
That would be so worth it.
Not
My
for you,
beater
Mike,
car?
but for someone like me and Nick.
Yeah, we have beater
We
cars.
would sacrifice our vehicle.
All for the likes. Knowing the Cybertruck, though, it would just
Like-
keep driving straight. There wouldn't be a single scratch or dent on it, and my car would be totaled. So,
There is
there's
actually
that.
a pretty funny story about that. My wife's dad and her sister were driving to school one day, and they were in their Ford F-350 pickup.
Ooh,
And
jeez.
on the way to school, they feel it wasn't even a nudge. They heard a sound behind them, and they're like, "What was that sound?" And they look, and there's like a Miata that crashed into the back of them. Didn't even touch the truck. It hit the hitch and like basically looked destroyed. It looked like it hit like a barrier, and then you look at the truck and like nothing was really touched, barely a scratch. And so I envisioned that the Cybertruck is basically like that when you crash into it. Well,
I would not be shocked at all
At
if
least
you
if it's
couldn't
got
tell
hitch.
that something hit you. Yeah.
The Cybertruck
Except
would
not
be
just
like,
a
your car, Nick, is made out
small
of
vehicle.
dumb aluminum. How can you stand?
dome Who would make a
Well, you
Cybertruck
gotta-
out of aluminum?
You got to stop in front of it.
T-bone. Okay.
It has to be a T-bone collision, but we're not suggesting this would happen. I'm just saying
No,
there's
and for
idiots
the
out
legal
there.
reasons, don't do that.
Please do not do that.
Please don't.
It's a terrible idea.
It's the one Cybertruck that's in existence that
Yeah.
people know about, or at least the general public knows about.
But between the
Let it be.
superchargers and the internet traffic and the actual traffic, do you think it's a bad idea for them to genuinely drive a prototype cross country?
No.
I feel bad for the follow car because it's the truck doesn't have mirrors, and so they need a
Right.
follow car for it. So if you could see from what was it, the LA driving, I think they had a Model 3 following them,
Yeah.
and in New York they had a Model Y following them.
They
So
did, yep.
I pity the soul who has to kind of try to keep up with the Cybertruck
Are
everywhere.
you kidding me?
And not get bored
My-
out
They
of their
should just
mind.
put-
I would love to be in the follow car, and I can stare at the Cybertruck all day and get paid for it. Come on, it's my dream job.
Yeah, but that's nice for like
They-
the first like 30 miles, and then I
They
don't
should turn the follow car onto full self-driving mode,
There you
and
go.
nobody's in it. From what I read, it's not just because of the mirrors, although that's part of the reason. It's because it's a prototype
Yep,
vehicle that's not a
experimental.
production model, and they have to have a follow vehicle if it's not an official, mass-produced. Like, it hasn't been approved for mass production or whatever. So they like, even if it had mirrors, I'm not sure if they could drive it all by itself.
I'm not too sure about that, just because there's been a whole bunch of prototype S's and X's here. I know that, yeah, they're kind of approved for production because they've been ramping that up, and they've had droves of cars being shipped everywhere,
Yeah.
which we haven't seen. But I'd lean more towards the mirror issue, and yeah, I mean, if they're claiming that this isn't close to, or it's close, but it's not going to be the production ready one, maybe there's some legalities with that, but I think it's mainly because there's no mirrors. I don't know.
Well, because you can take mirrors off
Yeah,
after delivery.
lots of
I
people do
believe.
that.
Yeah, the customer can, but Tesla is not the customer of their own prototype vehicle.
Yeah,
Elon's like, I bought it for $3. It's mine, and I removed the
people
mirrors.
estimated that
But-
that Cybertruck prototype cost over $1 million to make, so it's not a cheap car.
Oh, easily.
If you're talking about
imagine-
R&D and everything, yeah, probably.
Yeah, there's all. It depends on where you draw the line. If we're talking just material costs,
Yeah,
it might
material
not be
and
a
time
million.
of
But if you're
engineers
talking
to assemble. Yeah,
right, all of the time that went into developing that, yeah, probably well into the millions. But or the armored glass being all custom prototype glass and all that. But do you think it's a bad idea for them to show around potentially dated design? Could that get expectations in the wrong arena?
You know-
what if it's not as big as this one looks, or it doesn't have the door handles, or it does have mirrors and a windshield wiper?
I can understand why people would be apprehensive about seeing the older model, but I would say they should do it twice and have the older model go on a cross-country road trip, and then in a few months when they have the new model, take that one on a cross-country road trip.
Make that the follow one.
Yeah. There you go. Yes, yes, yes. 2 Cybertrucks.
Have a prototype and production model right next to each other.
Yes.
That'd be interesting.
Painfully obvious.
I mean, it's advertisements, publicity for the vehicle, and whether it's got
Yes.
door handles or not, I don't think is an issue necessarily. People would be like, wait, I saw door handles
Yeah.
like on one picture, and then it's just a simple statement
That
from
is the
Tesla,
prototype.
whether you're talking to a showroom employee or someone else. They'll just say, well, that was the prototype. Here's the actual one. It's actually better because you can press a button. Or your idea, Drew, is... Or...
Kick it.
Chris's idea.
Chris's idea. Just kicking the door. And it opens. Okay. I still don't like that idea.
Big footprint icon on the side. You know exactly where to push.
It's a work boot tread.
Doesn't that just invalidate the use of the whole entire door as a door handle? If you've got a specific boot point.
Be like, no, you didn't get it right on the boot print. I just like the idea that it's meant
to be kicked.
Yeah.
It's meant to be beat up. Honestly, I didn't follow Tesla as closely with the 3 or X or anything, but I don't recall the prototypes being flashed around as often for other Tesla vehicles in the past. Did they like suddenly bring the Model 3 to New York, or just suddenly drop it off at an automotive museum? I feel like the Cybertruck's getting all kinds of prototype love that the other vehicles never got.
First off, for good reason, and secondly, I don't really remember.
I'd say maybe. I mean,
I don't recall
the Model
that
3
happening.
is easy to blend in because if you look, I mean, at the time, there's a whole bunch of S's everywhere, and the 3 from the side profile, kind of close to an S, almost. Just a little bit more
from
elongated,
the back, too.
I guess. And so I can see them elongated muskrat. I don't know, maybe, but I think with the Cybertruck, it's just so out of this world. And people are clamoring for it. Like the demand for it compared to the Model 3 or the Model Y is pillars above. So
it is.
I don't know. I think it makes sense that they're touting it around because it only excites people more about the product. Though I guess they're still not planning on building it anytime soon. So
what did they do with the Model Y? I remember
it's like dangling keys in front of a child or something.
We saw some prototypes of the Model Y at like Tesla events, though, right after the unveiling. I remember there was some like employee events and stuff where they had like the blue Model Y next to the Roadster a couple times.
The shareholder meeting?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we saw a little bit of the Model Y in its prototype stage before it hit production. Is that fair?
It was around the Bay Area a little bit. At one point, it was hanging out at Fremont Factory being shown to the employees. And I called up Fremont. I'm like, hey, can I go visit this? Is there a way to visit this? And then I think receptionist lady's like, sir, this is a Wendy's? Or something like that. Just like, no.
This is a Wendy's. Well, do you have any Model Ys? Answer the question.
Please. I was so excited about that.
I want to see. I still remember the first time I saw a Model 3. It stood out to me because I had watched the unveiling pretty closely, and I was used to always seeing that same front of Model S's and X's, and I was driving to a nearby city, and I drove by. I was like, whoa, okay, they exist. I saw one. It was trippy. And then my first Y wasn't far from where I met up with Mike for the first time. It was about that area. And then I'm still waiting on that first semi sighting / first Cybertruck sighting. And I'll never forget that moment whenever it happens.
I don't remember the first time I saw a Model 3. I remember the first time I saw a Model Y, but not a Model 3. I remember at one point I stopped and took a picture of one, but I don't remember that being the first one.
Okay.
What about you, Mike?
Yeah, it blends in. It does blend in a bit better. If you don't know exactly what you're looking for, this specific door handle and everything. But I'm hoping to see a semi by the end of the year.
Yeah, I guess me and Nick have seen it, and you haven't.
Yeah.
Actually, I've seen both.
Guy.
Or, I guess not both technically, because now there's like 7 of them. But
oh, Drew,
I found it.
You're
guy.
holding one. Wow, look at that.
I found it.
It's my first moment. Oh well.
And I have a prototype model too. It's a Kia Soul Hot Wheel.
Why do you have a Kia?
Why do you have a Kia Soul Hot Wheel on your desk?
I found it the other
of all
day,
vehicles,
and I was like, "Oh, I wonder what car this is." Oh, Kia. Or no, it's not Soul. Stinger. Kia.
You just pulled it
Kia
from a child's
Stinger.
hands.
Yeah. No, this is like a new one. I don't know where it came
Stinger
from.
isn't
This
bad.
is like a 20-something model. Like this is a new car. Anyway, I was like, "Oh, look, not a Model 3."
How do
Rip.
you guys feel about the S and X deliveries getting pushed back so far?
Fremont's gonna Fremont. Is my answer.
The Fremont's gonna Fremont.
Yeah. I think is Model X back in production hell?
You know, I would say no because they're producing it between, I forget, like, isn't like first delivery supposed to be in June or July? Assuming that those aren't going to be pushed back. So
That's what they're saying now, but I don't know how.
I wouldn't say
much I
production
should
hell. It's
believe it.
more of just they don't have enough people
Yeah.
because there's just so
Well,
much
so-
demand somehow.
Do we know why it's being delayed? Like, are they
No, do we
waiting
know
on
X
batteries?
is being delayed? Not Y. X.
Thanks, Mike.
I think we don't have an official answer, but there were several internal memos saying that basically demand is at an all-time high and they have more orders than they can fulfill for the rest of the
Interesting.
quarter. But I also think that they touched on it in the last earnings call a bit that supply chain constraints are very, very bad right now with the chip shortage, and it sounds like the S and X mass production has ended up being a lot more complicated than they thought because Elon initially said deliveries would be in like February.
Yeah.
And now we're in
Not
second
February.
week of May, and it's still like, maybe this month. We'll find out. So I think there is a lot of supply shortages that are part of the issue. But I don't think it's entirely that. I think it's also orders are not slowing down for the new vehicles, and that's why they're like, okay, all new Model X orders not coming till next year, which I've never seen this, like, in May, them push back delivery dates that far before. I can't recall, other than like prototypes of, like, you know, Cybertruck coming 2021. But for like an already announced vehicle to just be like, okay, no more Model X's for the rest of the year, that's enough.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, that's
It's kind of sad. All those people who got excited about
Yeah,
the
it
Model
is.
X. Like,
So
I want to
maybe
see one.
Chris.
It's maybe reminiscent of early Model 3 days, right? Because they were trying to
Yeah,
ramp
production.
production. And so, yeah, it's almost like that in the case of you order Model 3, you wait a year almost, and then you get it. So, it's a bummer. I feel bad for those people, but at the same time, they're buying it at what? What's the base price for the Model X? It's like 90,000.
90.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
90,000 for the 5-seater.
That's crazy.
jeez.
Or you could buy a whole
Yeah.
Cybertruck.
Only
You know,
gets more.
this really just makes me worried about the Cybertruck. Like, are we really going to get it this
You
year?
should be.
If we're having a chip
No.
shortage right now, are we getting it this year? Elon, please answer. Thank you.
I think Tesla is
You're
being attacked
definitely-
on two different fronts with chip shortages and then ramping up 4680s. It's not looking good for Cybertruck for 2021.
I just wanted to know if there were people out there. I didn't get many comments responding to it, but I was like, are there people out there that still think Cybertruck's coming this year, but also think Model X is coming 2022?
Yeah.
It's like, if you hadn't ordered a Tesla yet, would you have a better chance of getting a Cybertruck than a Model X at this point? Just because, according to the website, production still begins 2021. And from the layout of Giga Texas I've seen, it appears that Cybertruck production will be in the one place that they haven't done much
I
yet.
know. So
There's like
sad. What
the
are you
one
doing,
area
Tesla?
there's not steel.
Who cares about the dumb Model Y? No offense, Model Y, Mike, but we need the Cybertruck Tesla. Come on.
We just don't. My viewpoint is we just don't need two Model Y factories.
We're
Exactly.
getting 4.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
instead we're having more. Because it's profitable or something.
Who
Whatever.
cares about profitability, Elon? We need that dang Cybertruck, please.
But
bet on
Model
the
X
fact-
is my favorite Tesla with paint. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm betting on the fact that Model X comes out. Or at least if you ordered a Cybertruck today and lived in Texas, then ordered a Model X, I think you get the Model X first. Just because
I do too.
They're building them right now. And
Yes.
they have a factory. And they have a concrete date. And they
Yes.
have the cells for it.
Right. They're still using the 18650s, so they don't have to ramp up a bunch of new cells that are still in the development phase as of now. But yeah, I'm I'm very much sure that we'll get S and X before Cybertruck. Honestly, but I wouldn't mind if they prioritized the truck if they miraculously pulled it off and we're like, hey, mass production is actually 10 times easier than we thought it was going to be. So we just start pumping out these exoskeletons and hey, we're done. Now they're coming out. That would be nice. The Fremont pilot plant or something, you know.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind, but at the same time, I am still saving money. So
I know, right? It
I
is
don't
kinda
mind at
nice.
all waiting as I'm gathering the funds for my wife's car.
Sure.
It's not even my car.
A lot of people were saying that too. When people found out Cybertruck was delayed, everyone's like, hey, no worries. That gives me some time. You know,
Yep.
I
when
will,
they
I will
unveil
also
it.
join that bandwagon, but I also want the Cybertruck yesterday, so I'm kind of at this weird point. I want it. Give it to me.
Yeah. You know what you can
For
buy
sure.
right now and will get delivered to you in the next few months.
Aptera.
What? Please?
I don't
Okay.
think so.
Please,
I
no.
wish.
I was going to say Rivian. That'd be nice if that Terra was coming out. But
Rivian's all launch editions, I think, this year though.
no, is it all just launch? Okay.
Yeah, I don't think you can order one and get it soon, but the people who have ordered one sounds like they're on track. They haven't postponed them again, and they're hiring up all these Rivian specialists to take over for your like Rivian delivery experience. And did you catch any of the advertising or marketing they were doing yesterday, Mike?
I didn't see that, but I did see their new blog of sizing up the R1T, and it got me excited, though. The bed on the R1T, so short, it's like 4.5 feet.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
I
it's like that Tacoma style.
yeah, my
Almost a truck. So close.
my truck is, I think its bed is around 6 feet, and
Uh-huh.
I still wish it was a little bit larger. And
Mm.
seeing that it's like 4.5 feet on this thing, it's like it's smaller than a Honda Ridgeline, and that thing doesn't have a big bed either.
Mm.
So,
You got to use that center column, whatever they call that thing.
oh, the yeah, I totally forgot the name of it. Center column.
The
Center column.
the thing that's built for golf clubs.
Oh, yes, yes. You can stick your stuff in that trunk.
I wonder if
Monk.
they could have widened
Middle-
the bed if they would have just
Huh?
ditched that thing.
Maybe.
Oh, I think it's all
They're
about
somewhat
the
close together.
Gear
extended
tunnel.
bit, though, right?
That's what's called.
Gear tunnel. There you go. I like
That's
monk better.
60
It's the middle
65
middle
inches
front.
long. Middle front. Monk.
It's a monk.
You could sleep in there
Oh my gosh.
on your camping trip.
Drew, how big do you think I am? Or
64.
How small, I guess. Well,
Six-
63.5 inches, evidently.
63 and a half.
that's the length. You're forgetting the width and
It
the
is a
height.
cool little, like, unique feature. That's one of the things I like about Rivian, is they find little things that other people haven't done before. So they're like, hey, we've got a little gear tunnel that you can sit on and you can fit the whole camping kit on with the stove and everything. I'm like, it's kind of clever. But I'm very excited because I am personally very sick of all of these concept prototype companies without actual customers yet.
Yeah.
Like, I want to
Oh,
see
my
more. In the years we've been covering EV, it's been almost 2 now since we've had like a dedicated EV channel and show. We haven't witnessed like the birth of a company transitioning from prototype to
Yeah.
deliveries, like
True.
to actual customers yet, and I'm ready to witness one of those. I think it's going to be Rivian next, and I like the direction they're going with their company and going after markets that don't really have much presence yet. So I'm rooting for them. I can't wait. I want to see the Doug DeMuro
Yes.
R1T video.
Yes.
I want to see Marquez talk about it. You know, I want to see everybody covering them on YouTube and stuff, like actual people, not just the company.
I'm not an actual person. You think I'm not
No.
going to be covering this? Okay, well, all right.
You can cover it
All right.
Yeah.
if you want.
You should buy one, Nick.
No, actually, I won't because I'll be buying the Cybertruck, and unfortunately, Cybertruck is all
But the R1T is so much more expensive.
Yeah, you know, you bring up a
It
good
isn't as
point.
durable
Drew.
and has
The
less
R1T
utilization
is a lot more
space in the
expensive. That's
trunk
a
for
good reason to
the
get it.
bed. And a lot more bougie
At this
in the
point, yeah, they got that landscape display though. I appreciate that. At this point, though, I think that the Rivian will be on the market for quite some time before the Cybertruck is. It's going to be the only all-electric pickup for, I'd say, a pretty decent, possibly like a year or more, maybe. So it'll be getting a lot of street credit for that. You know, people say like, "Oh, Lucid, you can't talk about that. You haven't delivered a vehicle." And now it's going to be like, "Well, Tesla, you haven't delivered a pickup truck like Rivian has."
True.
So
get on that.
know
Maybe
your
the
place,
Cybertruck
Tesla.
is actually just a rolling vehicle that isn't actually a good prototype, and maybe this is all a scam. And Elon's just out to get us pumping that stock in that
The
Doge.
follow car is pushing it everywhere.
Yes.
With an invisible
Force field.
hitch.
An invisible boatmobile
Winch.
is pulling it.
The WhatsApp car.
And there you go.
pushing
As
it
it
around.
runs right into the pedestrians on the side of the road.
A fictitious Apple car is towing it.
Ooh,
can't
there
see
you
it.
go.
Yeah. Do you think Rivian will stand a chance against Cybertruck? Like, do you think it can coexist once volume production of 4680s are happening?
I think so. I feel like they can do some cost-cutting measures with the manufacturing and production of the R1T. And
I hope so.
I think the addition of the R1S will only help it as well because it gives a little bit more
Yeah.
diversity. So
True.
yeah, I can see it being a nice contender. I mean, I think it's one of the best contenders if you consider the market. You've got the GMC, whatever it is, GMC EV truck.
GMC, whatever it is.
I was thinking, well, I mean, there's the SUV version of it. It's like the GMC EV SUV, and it's just way
Yeah,
too
that
many
one.
letters, and they're all
Rolls off the
acronyms.
tongue.
Yeah, that thing costs way too much. Lordstown, we have no clue what's going on with them besides they can't make a vehicle that survives the Baja.
Do you want to tell? What was that? You watched that video. What happened there with Lordstown?
So from what I gathered with Lordstown, I have no clue what they're doing. They're touting all of their chefs and wonderful employees that aren't engineers, except for I think one female engineer, in their little video ads on YouTube. But they announced that they're going to do the Baja with their prototype. Then they unveiled, or not really unveiled, but they showed off the prototype that was going to Baja. No clue why they have lights behind a bumper. Really didn't make sense. I had no clue what they're doing. It wasn't even symmetrical lighting. Like, it was a little bit biased towards, I think, the right side of the vehicle or the left side.
Oh,
I don't know
weird.
whether it's for the driver or something like that. And they expected it'd be all hunky-dory fine. And instead, they get out there, and they attempted one of the races, and they didn't have enough charge. They framed it so well that it didn't sound terrible, but they basically failed. And then they're like, you know what, we'll just drive around with the truck and get some B-roll, and we'll call it a success because we tried.
Oh,
Which
my
I applaud
gosh.
them for going out there and doing something with their prototype.
I
but
guess, yeah.
at the same time, it's like, I don't know. Is this good publicity for your truck that, one, this is
Right.
a prototype that isn't going to be the final thing, that doesn't look as much similar to their product that they're going to be shipping to customers, and it can't even do the Baja for how modified it was. So
Right.
I don't know. It made me cringe a little bit just watching the video. I'm like, ugh.
Me too. It was
Why?
kind of weird phrasing. I would have phrased it differently. You know, they could learn from Nicola on the phrasing. They could understand, like, we just wanted to do some off-road testing, and the off-road testing was very promising. You know, that probably would have been.
Yeah.
Some people probably applaud it because, you know, I was seeing a lot of comments saying, like, I appreciate the honesty, at least they're being upfront about its limitations and what it can't do, but I don't know. It also kind of makes sense for a company to just say, like, okay, don't advertise limitations. You want to talk about growth opportunities, and this is where we'll do better, and, you know, this is how we'll improve.
And they
like-
kind of went that way, but at the same time, they built up so much hype on, we're doing the Baja. And then
Yeah.
it didn't work. There was too much sand. We ran out of battery, and our electric charging truck that was supposed to charge it up at a certain checkpoint couldn't make it out there. So,
Yeah, that you're right. It just comes off a tad weird.
yeah.
So,
I don't know. It's kind of the same as the Cybertruck situation. Any publicity is good publicity or whatever.
I guess.
Sometimes.
True. Maybe the Hindenburg report wasn't as good.
They're just.
But-
I mean, they didn't react to it like Nikola, which was good.
No.
No.
It's probably smarter. If Hindenburg is wrong, which is entirely possible, they could have false info or they might not be accurate on this. Because I would argue that what was more damaging to Nikola was how they responded to Hindenburg, not so much what Hindenburg said, because there were a lot of bold claims that were very crazy, may or may not be true, but it's like, yeah, that looks bad. But then Nikola comes forward and says, hey, we never actually said it was self-propelled, we just said it was in motion. And then everyone was like, oh. Ooh,
You
okay.
also have Trevor
Here's the
Milton
ad
going
where
on
you
social media.
Yeah, here's the ad where you said
Yes.
it was.
Yeah.
Trevor was not helping
Trevor's
at all
like,
in
I've
that
been
situation.
writing all day. I just need to get approved by the lawyers, and then it's going out. I'm so angry.
He's like, cowards run, heroes stay and fight, and then
And then he ran.
And he's never been seen again.
and now he's gone.
He's
So
somewhere
yeah,
in the-
Lordstown, if Hindenburg's report was incorrect, probably handled it the best way possible. They were just like, you know what, we're just gonna make our vehicles and do our testing and not say anything. And so far, that seems to have worked for him. In the comments and replies and stuff, I don't see a bunch of people asking about it anymore. They're just kind of like, cool, let us know when it's out.
We're waiting.
That's most of the public response.
I was
But-
excited for them at one point, but now it's kind of just, I don't know, very much apprehension on what they're doing and how they're doing it and when it's
Sure.
coming out. Because they touted that they're going to be the first, and
That's right. They
It's
kept bringing that up, which is what gave me more hope for them. But now with Rivian being so close, I'm like, I don't think you're going to be the first anymore.
I think
Don't think so.
Rivian has played their cards right in terms of who they have backing them, what their product is, how they've defined it, and like what capability it has, and how they're
Mhm.
going to produce it. I think all those metrics they've nailed pretty good for what resources
agree.
that they have. It's just
And
a
they're
matter
not
of-
public. I love that.
Yeah,
Yes.
I love
is
that
true.
about Rivian.
we don't need any more public traded EV companies. There's too many at this point.
There are way too many. And people turn it into like... someone made a tweet recently on my EV account. I can't remember who it was. But someone said not everything about Tesla has to be about $TLSA.
Mhm.
They were like, can we just talk about the company and the mission instead of the stock all the time? Because it does feel like, because it's the most heavily valued auto company in the world, there's a bunch of people that basically associate all Tesla news with how it will impact the stock price and how it will impact this. And a lot of people are just like, what? Why do we have to rope everything into a stock, everything into an investment? Sometimes we just want to talk about the brand. And I love that with Rivian, there's not really anything to talk about there yet. I still see people say, like, why aren't they public yet? And I'm like, let them be private as long as possible. If they can do it, I'm for it. But knowing the capital needed to mass produce vehicles, I wouldn't be shocked if Rivian does go public later this year or something. But still, if they can avoid it, please do. That would be nice. Please do. Oh well.
So,
Excited for Rivian.
what about those superchargers?
Oh, that reminds me. Tesla has a new official Twitter account for superchargers. Did you catch that?
I did.
It's verified.
Mm-hmm. Twitter verified
In
team.
the eyes of
Hi,
Jack.
guys.
In the eyes of Jack, they were like, yeah, this is official. I like that they have an official one now, because there was... Mike, you texted it to me. What was the other account?
Oh, it's very similarly named. It basically serves the same purpose, but it was there before Tesla's version of it. And
Uh-huh.
question whether that guy got a job basically is tracking what...
All new superchargers?
Yeah. Whether it's that or... I don't know. But... No, I think it's pretty cool. I think I like the transparency.
Me too.
They're
It gets people easily like, oh, wow, they're deploying chargers quickly,
is it like 6 a week or something like that still? What's the pace we're currently at?
I think so. Tesla at Tesla Charging is the name for people wondering for the official verified account. But they just tweeted yesterday 25,000 superchargers around the world and counting.
Wow.
So
That's crazy.
a day ago, they had 8 stalls go up in Madison, Georgia, I think. And then 2 days ago, they had 8 stalls go up in Mexico. 2 days ago, 20 stalls go live in Sweden. Or that this is just when they're tweeting them, maybe.
Yeah.
It might have been done for a while now or something. But
I love
just showing like locations across the world is awesome.
Something that this Twitter feed kind of highlighted to me is they have some little micro charging stations that only have 2 stalls, and I think that's pretty smart.
It is.
I definitely like the idea of having 50 or 80 chargers. I think that's a good idea, especially seeing how Electrify America can barely keep up with all the demand that they have because most of their chargers only have 2 stalls. But I think in like really dense urban areas, like in the Grand Skylight Hotel, Tesla has just 2 superchargers in 2 parking spots right next to each other. And I love how compact it is, and it's very small, and it fits in just a little bit of space between the vehicles. You get the 2 chargers and the big box of electronics, and it's like that's how it needs to be. Just very compact and small and everywhere, right? And so I'm all in favor of this. Pretty cool.
And there's been a lot of prefabricated supercharger installations recently. I don't know if you caught that, but they're building the stalls themselves like into the concrete as they ship the chargers to their different locations. There was I believe a place, Snazzy Labs was tweeting about it. Here it is, yeah. The Beaver, Utah Supercharger.
Oh, yeah, Beaver, Utah. Oof.
It only had 4 stalls, and most of the time they were broken, but they just expanded it to 32 V3 superchargers within just like a couple days because they like prefabricated a bunch of the equipment onto the back of a semi-truck that just pulled up and dropped everything off, essentially. And I was like, that's really smart that they can just turn that around really quick and just be like, okay, now there's 32 stalls.
Yeah.
Huh. That's true.
Genius.
I
My
have
wife
been
recently...
to the Beaver, Utah supercharging location, and it used to be really bad. Like, you're right, there was only 4 stalls there, and it was the only link between Salt Lake and Las Vegas where you had to stop over.
Yeah.
And it was not good. And actually, the owner of that gas station didn't get paid by Tesla for their lease for like a couple months. And he was like stopping people from allowing them to charge because like I felt bad for the owner guy. Like, right, he's not getting paid by Tesla. Tesla had a problem in their lease billing, and so this guy's like, they're not paying. You can't charge here. But then all these Tesla owners are like, well, I need to charge here because like I can't get all the way to Las Vegas. Anyway, so I'm excited to see that Beaver Creek, Beaver has the nice supercharging setup. So yeah. It's pretty cool. What were you gonna say, Mike?
What were you gonna say, Mike?
Yeah, I was gonna say that my wife went on a mini road trip recently, about 4-hour road trip east. She went west; she'd be in the ocean.
4 hours away.
But yeah, she went east, and it looks like we're Starlinking. Oh, never mind, we're good. It'll be interesting when we all 3 have Starlinks. They'll be trying to synchronize our desyncs. She went on a little mini road trip, and she went to, oh goodness, this one supercharger, very beautiful, very well set up and clean, and I think it was Harris Ranch. And what was nice is there's a hotel nearby that has great amenities with bathrooms and other type of things, but they've got trash cans everywhere with barrels. Like, it looks like a very Western looking town setup.
Oh, nice.
And it looked really clean and nice, but she said was probably kind of the funniest, but also weirdest nice convenience was that there's is that there's a big row of superchargers. There's I think 5 of them that were pull-in, like not pull-in as in like you pull through, but if you have a trailer you can pull into it and then back out of it. So that's kind of set up for people who are towing stuff around Central California. But at the same time, there's 2 I think EVgo charging stations, and when she was there was a Mach-E and a Taycan charging. She's like, oh, cool.
Really?
I get to look at these other EVs charging while I'm charging.
Wow.
Nice little observation deck, I guess, for different
Yeah.
EVs that aren't Teslas that are visiting. But yeah,
God,
no.
every EV there, practically.
She did say that an Audi rolled up at one point as well.
Oh, wow.
So
Oh, wow.
you almost had all
That's
of
the
them.
place to go.
All of them.
Apparently,
She just set up a picnic there.
Did she see the Rivian? I mean, I think it was close.
No, that's here in the Bay,
Well,
or in San Diego, I guess. I think those are the 2 locations in California that they're usually at. But yeah,
I think someone spotted one in like South Korea or something. It was like really
What?
Really?
out there.
Wow. That's cool.
There was some
Just not the international
Twitter group,
stuff.
I think. Rivian
And then he
forums.
Starlinks.
I know. I'm Starlink.
Is that a verb now? Can we use that as a verb?
Yes, it's a
He
verb.
just Starlinked.
He looked like Starlinked. Hi, Drew. Are you back from Starlinking?
I'm back.
What were you
I'm
saying?
back.
South Korea.
There was some Rivian forum Twitter account that I recently started following, and they were covering all the sightings of Rivians, and one was like really far away. I was like, wow, why are they all the way out there? Oh yeah, Rivian owners spotted an R1T with a built-in winch, and also spotted on the website that there's going to be a way to remove the glass roof in mid 2022. They're going to have like an optional removable roof for the R1T, so it can be like an open canopy type design.
Kind of like what the GMC does.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Do you just not want to say Hummer? Is that what it is?
I'm not going to say that word.
Okay. Fair enough. That's fine.
Same as like
But yeah,
Mach
they
E
cover all
Mustang.
the right. Yeah, they cover all the sightings whenever they see them with the. Yeah, R1T prototype March 2nd was spotted driving around in South Korea, which is trippy. I'm not sure what they're planning there, but
Maybe RJ has some friends there.
Yeah.
maybe he does. Yeah, I will
That'd be
say,
kinda
like,
fun.
yeah, the R1T is definitely a smaller truck, but that probably will make it easier to import to other countries.
Europe might love it
Yeah,
with all
compared
the
to the
camping
Cybertruck.
capability. People like camping there
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
go on little mini road trips, and with the whole camping package.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think the only thing that's stopping them is cost. If you look at the
Yeah.
cost of like a Model 3 in Europe or Germany or whatever, I think pre Shanghai versus what it's being sold as in the United States, it's a crazy markup. But I think that's just because
Right.
of import tax and everything.
Yeah.
But I worry about Rivian in that regard. Then
Are you worried about
is
Rivian?
I'm not gonna be the worried about Rivian guy because
Okay.
I'm not.
You're already the Model Y guy, so.
Yeah, I'm not too interested in buying one, and I don't really have a choice or the money. But
But what if
Very
the
good
Cybertruck has a yoke, Mike?
what if the Cybertruck is? Think.
That means R1T is the only option.
Nah,
That's it.
we'll go for Lordstown.
We'll go for the Baja machine.
Oh no.
Or like
Beautiful.
their,
I need more lights on my bumper.
It's not even on the outside of the bumper, it's on the inside of the bumper.
Inside bumper lighting, my new favorite design trend. I still want an all-electric Ford Ranger. I would be in favor of that.
I think that'd probably be like the best, well, maybe not the best way to go for Ford, but it wouldn't be a bad path if they were still taking time to perfect the F-150, and or they
Yeah.
already made the electric F-150, and they thought, well, we want to make something that's not as hard to make in terms of like satisfying a whole bunch of customers' needs with range, while also
Right.
providing utility and performance. Like the Ranger's a nice dumbed down version of the F-150 that people will be like, okay, I guess we get it. The range doesn't have to be crazy on this thing, and it doesn't have to have that much utility. And it seems like a safe bet for Ford to go with that. But I don't know, I'd be interested.
And also, like, battery constraints. Like, F-150 is going to require much bigger batteries and much more batteries because it's a heavier demanded vehicle. Whereas if they start off with something like a Ranger, it's like, okay, it won't require as many batteries and it won't be as crazy high demand as the F-150. So it gives us a chance to experiment and mess around with making an all-electric pickup. And the people who want their gas guzzler still have the whole gas option or whatever. they kind of coexist for a little while. Whereas the fact that they're starting straight off with the F-150, I imagine them being very supply constrained, kind of like the Mach-E being a limited production run at first, because, you know, they went right for the crossover market, which is big, but also EVs don't have a demand problem, so you kind of sell them all out really quickly. And now everybody got one. Okay, now we can't make any more. Oh well.
Do you think that
Hope they
Tesla
can
will
make more.
ever sell battery packs to, you know, Ford and GE and stuff?
Yeah. They said they would, I believe.
Yeah, but when might that happen? I mean, like, I'm sure they'd be willing to, but like, soon.
Yeah. I think they do it when they have a surplus, when they're making more batteries than they can put into their own vehicles. That's the reason they're not doing it like right this second, is probably because they're like, well, we can't keep up with our own demand, so why would we sell batteries to someone else if we can't deliver enough vehicles? But I do think eventually that battery supply constraint will be solved. I don't think it'll be next year or the year after that or the year after that, but eventually I could see it happening, you know, maybe 7 years from now or 10 years from now, when they're just pumping out so many 4680s that they've got some in excess that, yeah, I could totally see them.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree, Mike, or do you have a different timeline or viewpoint on it?
No, I think that makes sense. I was just thinking about what Ford's struggling with right now with their Bronco.
Right.
Currently, right now, they stopped production of that, or at least plans for that, just because of chip shortages. And so they figured, okay, well, we'll just continue with the rest of our stuff, and we'll put Bronco on the backside of things, which is kind of a bummer for a lot of those people who are really looking forward to getting their, I guess, the original kind of looking Bronco, but more
Sure.
modern take on it, I guess.
The Bronco's
Yeah.
a real popular car.
It's a beautiful car. I got to see the Sport the other day. I'm like, ooh,
in
this is
person?
pretty. Yeah, it was here in my area in the Bay, and it was. It pulled up in the parking lot. I was at Safeway. It pulled up, and
It's just
I looked at him
shopping.
like, wow,
Wow.
that is really big. Like, the owner was kind of looking at me like, what the heck is this dude doing? He's staring at me.
He's drooling.
I'm just like, no, it's a
Don't mind
Bronco.
me.
Like, these don't
I
exist.
think,
This is illegal.
yeah, this is illegal. It'll be interesting to see who actually ponies up and agrees
Ponies
to
up.
take from, like, because Tesla said they'd be willing to license out autopilot and
Yeah.
FSD to other companies someday. But I haven't seen many companies like integrating equivalent hardware. I guess Rivian has 11 cameras and 5 radars. So if Rivian decided to opt for autopilot, the autopilot would just be like, okay, we don't need that radar. But anyway, here are the cameras. We got some excess visuals to work with. Not sure how easy it is to port that software over when you have like a
probably
completely
not
different.
Because like AIs and MLs are very sensitive to, you know, changes in camera perspective. You know, it might be trained just for that exact focal length and that camera placement on the vehicle. And if it gets moved a little bit, and I'm still pretty surprised that they're able to support the same software on a Model 3 and a Model X, and eventually, you know, the Cybertruck and stuff. And like, those are very different sized vehicles. And so you have to kind of teach the ML, like, hey, you know, you're at this perspective now. Everything's going to look a little bit different. You're in a, you know, bigger truck.
Right.
You're in a lifted vehicle, basically. So, yeah.
I'm not sure how complicated. And they don't have the FSD chip on third-party vehicles. So
Yeah.
No.
True.
to license it out, Tesla
Yet.
might have very strict requirements.
Yeah, it might not even
like
be
you
worth
have
it in the end.
Right. Kind of like how we thought there'd be more third-party supercharging access by now, but everyone's just like, nah, it's too complicated. We don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
It'd be a shame, but
Still sad.
I don't know. It'd be very weird to see like the first autopilot equipped vehicle that's not a Tesla. That'd be quite bizarre.
Yeah, I'm not too sure if Aptera would solve or be applicable for that. Thinking about the market that currently exists with all the cameras, it seems like only like kind of the big new ones like GMC and Rivian are more supportive of that. I don't know, maybe some of the lower ones like maybe Bolt might have enough cameras. I'm not too familiar with how many cameras they've put on the new one. But
It does have Super Cruise, so
it could be enough.
it can do some type of auto drive. It's got some hardware for autonomous driving. I'm not sure if it has everything Tesla will require, because I could easily see them saying like, no, you need the chip. You got to buy our chip and put it in all new cars, and we'll sell the chip for $10,000. Everyone's like, wait a minute,
that's not
this isn't worth it.
I am bummed out with the Bolt Super Cruise. It's very much dumbed down compared to the Cadillac version of it.
Really? I didn't know there's a difference.
There is a
What's
difference. I think with the Cadillac Super Cruise, you can tell it to, like, if you want to go into a different lane, you can just hit the turn signal and it does it for you. With the Bolt, you have to, I don't know if you take it out of Super Cruise, but you have to manually do the initiation of the turn. Whether you disengage it, then merge into the next lane, and then re-engage it. But it doesn't have that fluid feeling that Cadillac has. It's more of, it's a really smart, not autopilot, cruise control. It's a really smart cruise control in regards to it lane keeps on specific highways.
But how many JD Powers has Super Cruise won?
Too many, I think.
I think Consumer Reports gave it something. They gave it like best autonomous driving system or something. It's
Have
like,
you tried
well,
autopilot?
on the 2 roads it works very well. On the no, we're giving no credit for how many places you can use this service. We're just giving credit for. Oh, what was really funny was how Consumer Reports got all angry about autopilot works without a driver, but then someone tried Blue Cruise on the Mach-E and took off their seatbelt and it kept working.
It's like,
That went viral.
oh gosh.
Yeah. That was after the Ford CEO tweeted out about Teslas being dangerous because of autopilot. And
It's like, this you?
also, this you guys. Also, you can take your seatbelt off. Oh well, who cares? It'll keep driving as long as it sees your eyes. I guess that's what matters, right? That can never be fooled. No one can trick the eye tracking.
No one
Sticks
But
eye
anyone has a
stickers
big-
on glasses.
sticks googly eyes on sunglasses.
It'd be funny if it registered googly eyes.
There's just like the
Someone
little
should do
lines
that.
it draws to see where you're looking, and just like going in the wrong direction.
He's like,
Okay. I thought of an interesting production timeline question. What do you think vehicles, I think we know the first 2. Like, we know Model Y at Texas is the priority, and then more than likely Cybertruck after Model Y. What do you think is next? What vehicles will they prioritize once Cybertruck facility's up and running? Like, what's the rollout of, like, is it slowly taking everything away from Fremont, or
No, they need
What
to
do you
expand the
think that looks
Cybertruck
like?
production capability until they have infinite amounts of Cybertrucks coming out of that factory.
everything is just Cybertruck.
The singularity will be, its single objective will be to turn the entire observable universe into Cybertrucks.
that makes sense? Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, my hope, I think I've voiced this in the past, my hope with Fremont is once Giga Texas, Giga Berlin, and Giga Shanghai are on all cylinders with all the vehicles, Fremont can finally take a break, retool, reconstruct, reorganize all their stuff, and just fix themselves with the manufacturing hell that they're stuck in right now because of the facility. And maybe on the side support S and X, but maybe just kind of phase out 3 and Y a bit to where those are like maybe very little, like it's a very little percentage of what they put out. Like it's enough for the West Coast, but it's not like supporting the whole United States. I think Giga Texas should support at least the Model Y.
Yeah.
And then, maybe, I don't know. I think after Cybertruck, it definitely becomes more of a game of everyone gets ramped up to production levels that get Tesla to like 1.5 million vehicles a year or something like that. Maybe more than that. And then then it becomes the 25K model spotlight. And you kind of get more of that focus. And then at the same time, you finally get Tesla semis being produced everywhere, or maybe not everywhere, but on a pretty good production scale. And then we finally get the sprinkles on the cupcake. That is the icing. That is the Model S is the icing, I guess is what I'm saying, and Roadster is the sprinkles. We finally can get to the sprinkles at some point.
Where's the cupcake part
Sprinkles.
that gets the frosting on your nose, though? What part is that?
The what?
X.
The X is the frosting on the nose. I guess.
I like that idea, though. I like that Fremont would be like the premium segment factory that just kind of turns into Roadster SNX production and occasional. Like, I don't know how Tesla's planning on doing this, because I know they have a 25K model planned in the next 3 to 4 years. And I'm wondering if that will be built at Texas primarily, or if sometime in the future they need to retool and redesign the Model 3 like chassis and move it into more of a casting press style approach instead of having the 70 different pieces, and take what they've learned from the Y mass production and apply that to the 3. I just don't know if it makes sense to do that at the Fremont facility, or if it makes sense to just start up a new factory at Texas or maybe somewhere else. Elon briefly mentioned an East Coast factory in the future. Somewhere else for Model 3 production that could actually save a bunch on manufacturing, because it just annoys the crap out of me every time the 35K model gets more expensive again. It's like, now it's $40,000.
Yeah, that price hike again.
I want them to be able to, change the wheels on that bus that's currently going 80 miles an hour. That's why they can't really update the 3. But feels like Texas has got its hands full with Y and truck, and potentially after that Model 2 production. So when the 3 gets a chance to get some retooling and get some upgrades on the inside so that it can have better range and better cost-effective manufacturing methods, I'm looking forward to that, because I think there's a comfortable place for the 3 to sit in the lineup at 35 to 50K or whatever, and still have great performance and all that. So maybe it's not a huge priority. I don't know.
Yeah. Who knows? Not me.
I mean, it better be. I mean, if the Cybertruck isn't the biggest priority here, I don't know what I'm doing with my life.
Do you guys think that
I know,
Tesla
Nick.
would entertain the Cyber lineup maybe after the 25K model?
Really hope so. I think they're waiting just to see how complicated Cybertruck production is, because Elon did say it wouldn't be easy, and he did say that no vehicle has been produced like this before, just from the exoskeleton alone, let alone that it's electric. Just the fact that they're using this heavy duty steel that's really thick and durable and very flat and armored glass on all sides in the vault and everything, and adaptive air suspension that you can tap into in the outlets, and like there's so much extra manufacturing that Tesla's not used to putting into all their vehicles, that if the ramp for Cybertruck goes pretty smoothly and they find out, okay, this isn't too bad, I think we can get comfortable with this, then that's my hope that, yeah, they would make a cyber car or a cyber SUV and just start diversifying that whole cyber lineup. But they probably don't want to commit to it if it turns out that Cybertruck's very difficult to make and ends up being like another Model 3 where, we said it would start at 40,000, but it's actually starting at 53,000 now. And, Tri-Motor's actually 74,000, and, they can't quite hit the prices they were hoping for, and they ditched the standard range and just have the dual and Tri-Motors. I could see them running into a bunch of issues and being like, no, that's okay. We'll just stick with paint. That's we'll
paint's
just have a
not
normal
that
car.
bad.
It's not that bad, as long as we can still use normal metal that we can, stamp out, and use a lot of Model 3, and Y techniques for mass production. Because I believe the Giga Shanghai ecological report alluded to the 25K model being built on a very similar Model 3 chassis. Like it had, similar to the Y, it had like 75% similar parts. They were just going to carry over a lot of their supply chains to save on cost. Be like, okay, we tinker with the overall size and we change the trunk a little bit, but for the most part, it uses a bunch of the same stuff the Model 3 uses. That way we can ramp it up real quickly. It's just like Model Y was making Model 3 Pro Max, and now Model 2 is like making Model 3 Mini. You know, it's like taking out a few things, shrinking the size a little bit, and then saving on cost that way.
Except in this case, the Mini will be the best seller.
Yeah. This time. Well, I hope. Maybe if it's a two-door, no one will want it.
Because the Max is the best seller right now.
It is.
For both companies.
Well, it's the 12 for iPhone, but yeah, it'd be quite weird. I just wonder if they're going to prioritize retooling Model 3 or just going straight to Model 2 because they can start from the ground up and be like, well, if we're going to have a casting press and all that, why don't we just redesign the whole vehicle, go straight to the 25K instead of just improved margins on the 3.
No. It'll be actually pretty humorous if they replicate the 25K model with like Model 3's chassis a little bit, but they go with Model Y improvements with the casting press, and then it just becomes the Model 3 who's kind of the weird one out of the 3 who's just like, I don't have a casting press that does like 75% of my body. I'm the troublesome one out of the 3 consumer-friendly cars, I guess.
Yeah. That would be weird. Although, for the record, if they can make a cyber car without paint that's very durable, I would be all in favor of that. DeLorean-esque looking, all steel. And they're if you want a cheap Tesla, this is what you got to put up with.
Model 2.
I'll be all over that because I want to live in a future with more weird-looking cars, and if they're cheap, that's even better. So you have all these Cybertrucks and Cybercars driving around. They all look bizarre, but they get great range and the good charging. Also, the Model 2 having lithium iron phosphate gives it the super high cycle life, which I'm very interested in and learned a lot about in the past week. People filling me in on the details of like iron phosphate you charge to 100% all the time, or else it hurts the battery to not charge it to 100% all the time. I was like, well, I kind of like that because now you're like maxing out your range whenever you do charge up the car. You start each day at 100%. That's kind of nice. So that would be like dream Tesla territory, like a cheap cyber sedan that can go 260, 280, and I charge it to 100% every day.
For how much?
That sounds solid.
For how much? So here's
25K or whatever.
I was going to say,
27.
here's maybe a nice theory is that Model Y, of course, is the best seller. It's going to be the best seller for probably 2022 out of almost every single auto lineup. And then 25K models on the horizon, and it's going to be a bestseller in many different places, especially China and Europe.
Yeah.
What if for the Model 3, if they really wanted to try a cyber sedan, they just made a cyber version of the 3, and they phase out the old 3, and so they get a pretty cool refresh 3 in the way that we got like the refresh S, except it's more radical on the outside than it is on the inside. Like maybe you still kind of get the same inside look, but the outside is very much Cybertruck-like. I would think Nick would probably go for it.
If there was more than one cyber vehicle to choose from, I'd have a really hard decision here. But since there's only the one at the moment, I can be all in on the Cybertruck.
Nick's like, I'm willing to squeeze myself in. I don't care.
No,
I don't think a lot of people would like the...
Sorry, on like a Model 2 or something, if it's like a Cyber Model 2 or Cyber Model 3, I would squeeze myself in. I would put up with the, difficulties of being a person of size in a small vehicle. And even all that though would need to come with a price point. So it would need to be, $20,000, something like that. So that's where the justification would have to
me,
come
it's
in.
just like sub 30. I'm
sub 30.
half.
Okay.
half expecting Tesla to not hit the 25K, or they're going to say 25K after incentives once you factor in this gas savings metric and also this rebate that we have. So I'm just like, it could end up being 28 or 29,000, but still, that's really good in my opinion. Like, because Tesla can barely hit 35. So if they're able to get it sub 30, I consider that an improvement. That's a big milestone. As long as the range is good and you still have autopilot hardware for sub 30 on a new vehicle, I'm like, that's amazing. That's really cool. So whether it has paint or not, I'm interested. But also, if it's all steel, that would be preferable. That would, I need to see more concepts. Someone made one on Behance or something. It's like this very weird hatchback-looking cyber car.
Does that have a motorcycle in the back?
It might have.
Because I found one the other day that was basically a cyber El Camino. If you know what an El Camino looks like, it's a cyber El Camino that's got like a motorcycle in the back.
No way. Oh, that's cool.
I'm like, this is really strange. Like, it basically looks like someone took a Cybertruck, bottomed it out, gave it kind of normalish wheels or normal size wheels for a sedan, but it still had the bed, and it had like a motorcycle in it. I'm like,
oh wow,
it's not like that's a nice blend for, at least for Nick, for what he wants in a car. He wants something that's very cyber and cool, but also maybe isn't too crazy in size, so that he doesn't have to worry about driving around parking lots. And
that would be cool.
But at the same time, I would totally go with the Cybertruck, because Cybertruck.
Wait, you're interested in the Cybertruck, Nick? I didn't know this.
I've never heard this.
I have not shared my opinions on the Cybertruck, guys. I think I'm going to need to come out of the closet here and say I am indeed worried about the Cybertruck. I know.
The concept I saw looked very ugly, which is why I liked it. It was very bizarre, and it looked kind of like a doorstop, and it looked like something not many people would want, and I was like, that's perfect. I want like a weird one that no one wants. I want like a, but it was a hatchback. It was like a SUV basically. It was smaller, but still had a lot of cargo space, but you could sit 5. But the front still had the one, the frunk and the windshield were all one direction, one angle, and I've showed it in a few videos, the Cyber Hatch or whatever, but I've seen a lot of ones that people have gotten behind and been like, yep, I'll take that one, the weird one. So there's a ton of cyber concept vehicles I've seen. I know Mike's a big fan of the Roadster, the Cyber Roadster.
I would be willing to shell out a lot of money for a Cyber Roadster, but one, I don't think it'd be in the cards, and two, I don't think Tesla wants to make a Cyber Roadster because they're already very reluctant on making the regular Roadster right now.
They can't make a normal Roadster. Yeah,
I think they could make one. It's just, is it the right time? No, especially with
it isn't. But
everything.
I wish they would literally just sell the prototype to a YouTuber. Give it to Marquez and be like, here, make some videos.
Yeah.
It does speak volumes that when Elon travels to different places, he wants to drive the Cybertruck and not the Roadster. They haven't really brought that to a bunch of different places.
Yeah. Well, I think the Roadster is just a little bit too prototypey compared to the Cybertruck one. I mean, of course they didn't give... Well, no, they did give rides in the Roadster on the unveiling night.
They did.
Yeah, they did. And I was thinking about that
but they haven't,
days ago. What battery technology did they use on that Roadster that they did the test?
I bet it was
supercharged 2170s or whatever.
Okay, yeah.
They said at the event that it was they said at the event it was a 200 kilowatt hour battery pack. So I'm imagining 2 100 packs basically stacked together at the bottom. 2170s maybe, or 18650s. I don't know. It's a prototype, so they probably were just using old parts and stuff laying around, but. It is weird that they don't really bring that out as often as the Cybertruck at this point. I'm just imagining the Roadster driving around Giga Texas in the mud, like peeling out in the dirt and stuff. It's all messy.
There's some good videos of some supercars on dirt roads, but that would beat up that. I don't think you'd want to beat up that prototype too much, especially when they want to do some testing on it and they want to have some kind of real world comparison to some of their simulations.
Sure.
It's a lot better having something that you could compare on the test stand versus theoretically you're just like, it's supposed to go this fast.
It's supposed to. Yeah. You know what I was thinking about earlier this week was, let's say Tesla wins the legal side of things and they are able to get the law passed that you don't have to have side view mirrors on a car. Like, so the Roadster and Cybertruck can both remain mirrorless. Why has there not been many concepts of Model 3, Y, and S and X without side view mirrors? Can you imagine that?
I think because it's the traditional car aspect, right? Like, anyone who's buying a car expects there's to be 4 wheels, curved metal, and side view mirrors. That's what everyone expects from a vehicle. Cybertruck has 4 not circular looking wheels, and it does not have a single curve on its body. And so, of course, it's not going to have side view mirrors, and that's just the logical step. And so if people are willing to buy into that part of the future and that cool design, they're also going to be willing to give up things such as side view mirrors. And I think Tesla wants to push people towards not having side view mirrors because that'll save time, save money, save manufacturing costs, and be a more beautiful and sleek design that can be more aerodynamic.
And range.
And range, exactly. Yeah. And so I think the Cybertruck is going to be the first step, assuming they can get the regulatory bodies to agree that, yes, you can have a vehicle without side view mirrors and it'd be perfectly safe. But, yeah, I don't know.
So do you not think they would remove mirrors from the rest of their vehicles,
not
even
yet.
if the law was passed?
Eventually they will.
I could imagine Tesla doing it basically like as soon as the law allows them to. They're just like, cool, slunk.
Go to every single owner with a chainsaw or whatever. You don't need this no more.
Just schedules a Tesla
I wonder how much
service appointment for everybody.
Because I know at least with the Semi, Tesla really, really wants it without mirrors because that can save a ton on range. And same with Aptera. And I'm sure probably similar with Cybertruck, you can have a much more aerodynamic body without it. So if they could boost range by even 10 miles across every model, it's probably more than that. But if they could shave that off, I think they would do it. Do you think they would, Mike?
Yeah, probably. I just like the idea that you take your car in for like, I don't know, maybe you've got a seat bolt that isn't fitting correctly. And so you take it in on like a Monday and then at the end of the day you come to pick it up and it's missing mirrors and you're like, what happened? You're supposed to fix the seat. Oh yeah, we fixed the seat, but we also fixed the mirrors.
We noticed that your car had these extra appendages on them and we figured we'd just remove those. Completely unnecessary. Not sure why anybody stuck those on there.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I highly doubt that, but all new models, I bet, you know.
Yeah, it'll be like the chrome,
seen...
or was it the black trim Model 3s?
Yeah.
You'll see a delineation or at least a difference, but you don't see Tesla trying to replace everyone's Model 3 trim from chrome to black.
No. Like, I don't see many concepts of normal Teslas without side mirrors, how that design would look. I've only seen it on the prototypes. I guess there was like the original Model X prototype they unveiled didn't have side view mirrors. It had
they wanted it done at that point. That was a far cry. We'd still be waiting on the Model X.
Speaks volumes to how long they've been trying to kill the mirror. Like the original Model X that was unveiled in 2013 didn't have mirrors on it. Oh, that's funny. Seeing these old pictures. Wow.
That was a very weird looking vehicle.
I like it, but it is weird, yeah. Anyway, we got to let Birthday Mike get to his birthday festivities.
Last I checked, he is the birthday boy here. Should we sing him happy birthday on this?
Please no. Please no.
Fine.
Please no.
To honor his wishes, we will not.
Thank goodness.
You guys can sing
Thank you.
As you're listening. See you guys later.
Take care. Have a great week, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.